Hi, everybody. It's April 25th, 2024, and this is the weekly Backdrop developer meeting. We've got 1 week to go before feature freeze for Backdrop 128, and we're going to talk about the priorities for that release today. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm core committer and technical lead for the Backdrop project. I'm calling in from Oakland, California. I'm joined here by a smaller group today, but we'll do introductions. We'll start with Greg and then we'll go to Joseph.
Yeah, I'm Greg. I'm joining from Melbourne. It's actually less than a week. It's more like 6 days or something. But yeah, we can stress it. I'm really excited. I've been looking at the HAQ, trying to keep up with the uh, comments and the activity there. Excited about it. Looking forward. Um, Wanted to mention that if anyone's around to sprint over the weekend, I will be as well.
Great. Joseph and then John.
I'm Joseph. I'm a developer from Las Vegas, Nevada, and a core committer. And I'm very excited the config storage thing is fixed.
Great. Yeah, that's one of the topics for today. All right, and then we'll go to John.
Hi, John. I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm not a developer, but I like to listen in and see how things are progressing.
Awesome. Well, thanks for
Yeah,
hanging out with
keep
us
going.
today. Let's see, in the world of Contrib, we like to give little updates there. There's one new module that came out this week. Perhaps controversial. Composer Manager was ported to Backdrop and is now available in Contrib. Just a little aside, my opinion on Composer has been shifting, that I actually think it's generally kind of a good thing these days. I don't really see it as being central to Backdrop in the near future, but I think that it's a good thing to have available as an option. So this is nice to
Yeah, I don't think that we
have
ever
progressing.
objected. I don't
What's
think
that?
that we ever objected. We just objected to making it a requirement.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, like if Composer could be used to install Backdrop modules, for example, the way that it can be used to install Drupal modules, I think that that could potentially be really beneficial. Um, but yeah, anyway, great to see that coming along. That's a Laren module, so interesting to see that happening. Um, I don't think that I don't think that it would actually work to install Backdrop modules at this point. Although I will point out that we do have the Backdrop namespace reserved on Packagist in the event that we ever were to start doing that. But anyway, that's not really a
Yeah.
topic for today.
Yeah. Another differentiator is that we usually pack any libraries that we want to ship the contrib modules along with the releases. So it's one less sort of like thing that we could use Composer for.
Yeah. Yeah, if we were to start using Composer for extensive dependencies, especially outside of the Backdrop module, then the installer module would not work. Yeah, or project browser.
I,
Yeah.
I've been using Composer to actually install libraries into the modules, and then I take the whole use Composer on my local environment to update the dependencies, and then I commit the whole thing, the vendor directory and the autoload file and everything
Hmm.
to the module. And that way on the server, you don't have to have Composer at all. It's just everything's there.
Right.
And then I can use Composer to update the package when I feel like it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think it's a useful tool. And it's way better than it was when Drupal first started using it. uh, okay. Well, anyway, let's move on because we got more topics for today than Composer. All right, we've got Backdrop 128 just around the corner, like Greg said, less than a week before Future Freeze. I did have it point out to me that May 8th or May 1st is Labor Day in a lot of the world, so that's actually a day off. However, it doesn't line up or land on a against a weekend or anything like that. So as far as uh, feature freeze dates, it does look like May 1st is still going to be our feature freeze date. No moving it around this time. It seems like that happens 3 out of 4 feature freezes that the date isn't actually the 1st of the month. But this one actually will be May 1st as feature freeze for 128. As for 128, boy, it's a down to the wire release. There's a lot of major features that are all trying to get wrapped up here before that date, and a lot of them are really closing in on something that that looks really close. The closest one of all, I think, is the swappable config one, 2277, which lets you store your backdrop configuration instead of storing the active configuration in files. It lets you store the active configuration or the staging configuration, but putting active in the database seems like it's the use case that we're all talking about here. That issue 2277 is finally seems to be good to go. The blocking issue that we had for months was a space in a GitHub action file, that there was a variable that was being specified in the GitHub action file, and the space was causing the Apache configuration to break.
Can you?
It
Wait,
was
can you?
it was
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it was in a sed or like a regex,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like a space in the regex, and then the regex would break.
Yep. I think it was a find replace gone wrong or something like that. I'm not quite sure how that happened. It was my fault. I put it there. But anyway, once that got fixed, then it started going down to the okay, let's eliminate all of the test failures stage, of which there weren't really that many. There was a strange issue with the menu system that got sorted out, but the config tests were all working and everything seemed to be really pretty great. Go ahead.
Where are we at with the implementation? Is it just going to be a thing that you select during installation? Because last time I asked, there's no way to switch between the two, correct?
Yeah, and at this point, there's not a user interface for even turning it on. It's just in settings.php, you need to set it up to use database configuration before you use the installer.
And does it keep the two things in sync, or just the moment you tell it that's where you store config, that's where it looks for? Right.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
I can see scenarios where people might want to use, say, the database on their production, but maybe, I don't know, on their local, or I don't know.
Yep.
Using environment variables.
That's totally fine. That is supported. But you do need to yeah. Yeah. That's still fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working on a small module to actually convert websites from using file to database, and it would probably not be that hard to do the reverse, and I can just upload that somewhere.
Cool.
Yeah, it really is. It's still JSON. It's just in the database now, and the file names match the row names. So, I mean, it is the same thing, just in 2 different storage mechanisms. But yeah, there does need to be some kind of tool, because as I'd really be curious, Joseph, how that works, because as soon as oh, I guess if you did it before you swapped the option, that might work. Is that what it does?
Mhm.
Because as soon as you change the settings.php file, like, your backdrop site breaks because there's no config in the other location.
Right. Yeah, you would have to there'd be like a copy config button, and you click it, and then you switch the settings.php. Which
Yeah.
for that's I actually got the idea from working on that features thing, the recipe builder. Because
Awesome.
that's essentially what it's doing, is like when you click start, it copies all of your config to another location to store it and compare later.
Yeah. I don't even think it would be hard with the config classes. You can just get everything and then put it in a different place, instantiate a different config class, and then save everything.
Yep.
Anyway, so issue 2277 is very, very close. It has all tests passing. We've done a little bit of testing with contrib modules. It does look as though backup and migrate is going to need some changes, which isn't that surprising because backup and migrate was specifically adapted for Backdrop to back up your files-based config in addition to your database. Honestly, having it work with the database only config is probably going to be a lot simpler because that's just one less thing. It's just now part of the database. But it does need to have some slight modifications to it in order to get it working with a database owned config system. It still works fine with the current config system, still will work fine with all existing sites. So not a deal breaker. We also had some testing with B. B is the command line tool for Backdrop, analogous to Drush in the world of Drupal. And B was not working with an earlier version of the pull request, but that issue has now been fixed as well. So yeah, we're looking really good. What this does need, though, it needs some more testing. Joseph, you'd be in a great position to give it a review. Although John Franklin was the original author of this pull request, I kind of since adopted it, and I don't think I'm in a good position to give it the final thumbs up. But yeah, could use some review, and then once it gets into RTBC, I think that it'll be pretty smooth to get it into core.
Okay.
So that issue is looking great. There are other issues. Let's see, 5 other issues. Issue 2894 is a usability improvement to make it easier to create layouts for a specific content type. I'm not going to get into this one because from the looks of things, the previous meeting was all about that issue. The short of it is that it's a little bit stuck because there's not consensus about the UI that should be created. But it does have a pull request that's in good shape because it's really kind of providing shortcuts. It's not like adding a lot of new functionality, but is connecting a lot of existing pieces.
One thing,
so
Doc
ahead.
Wilmot that is working on it, was the person that is working on this, would like to get a consensus. We got to the point where we said, let's just vote because it's 1 or 2 people against 6 or 7 people.
Mhm.
And I would like that would unblock them to start working on the and finalizing it. If we don't come into a consensus, and I'm not saying come to a consensus now, but I'm soliciting, I guess, people to yeah, just go chime in and say yes or no or whatever, get things moving.
Okay. I'll take a look at this one because I haven't weighed in on it yet either.
Yeah.
And I know my opinion seems to matter. So all right. Hopefully I come down on the side of the more popular approach.
I can summarize things if that would help, but let's discuss other things and leave it towards the end of the meeting. Let's discuss the rest of the items in the agenda.
Yeah,
'cause
no,
it's
I think I can go
lengthy.
back. I got the gist of it from the being in the tail end of the last meeting, but I can just go back and watch it too. That would be
Yeah.
totally fine. Okay. Let's see. There's another small issue, issue 2554, use config for color module palettes. I haven't looked at this one in a while. It's another Doc Wilmot issue. It's in a good shape, it looks like. It needs code review and needs testing. I don't think that this is a very big set of changes. Comparatively, it's much smaller. And I think that this is mostly kind of like a improve the way that themes are saving their color palettes. So not a big deal, but that one could use some review. All right, the next 2 issues are both around SVGs, issue 5541 and issue 364. So SVG image support, issue 5541, also has had a ton of progress in the past week. A lot of changes. The scope of it was reduced a little bit to make it more viable to be in 128. I saw that test coverage was added, which is excellent, but there's actually still some outstanding issues, it looks like, with 5541 for adding SVG support to image uploads. But this looks really great. We've got Yorkshire Pudding, Doc Wilmot, and Indigo Zella all working together on it. And looks like Herb Duel too. So that's a kind of dream team as far as getting stuff done in Backdrop is concerned. So I'm really liking the way that this is shaping up. I have looked at it a couple of times. It looks great. Functionality wise, it's basically exactly what you would expect, that image fields can just upload SVGs now. And the image browser works with SVGs. It just mixes in SVGs with every other type of image, which is a nice accomplishment because SVGs are not the same as any other type of image. Visually, they seem like they're pretty similar, but because they're vector and they're actually text files, and SVGs are so capable, there's a lot of special concerns that SVGs have that other types of images don't.
They're not text files, they're actually markup code files. That's the concern there, because there's a lot of things that come with that.
Yeah,
Security.
because you can embed JavaScript in them and iframes and all kinds of crazy things. And that was the compromise in this issue, is that the contrib module seems like it actually supported inlining SVGs onto the content of the page. And that embedding of an SVG onto the page removes a lot of the security constraints from like at the browser level. So a browser won't do certain things to an SVG that's loaded externally, and it will do a bunch more things, like allow it to be controlled by CSS and allow it to execute JavaScript if it's embedded directly onto the page. And so that was the compromise, is that the embedded part was just taken out, and that simplifies and lowers the security concerns quite a lot.
I see that the other one, I thought that you were working on it, but I see that it's assigned to Jen now, the icon library in core.
Oh, I did not know that that was assigned to her. Before we move on though, so see that Andy, Doc Wilmot, joined us again. Andy, we're just talking about adding an icon or adding SVG support to image uploads. Do you have any commentary on that, or anything you'd like to request to get that moving forward?
Good afternoon again. I seem to have excellent timing this afternoon. I'm at work, so I won't be staying long again, just a lull in the patient load. So not really any just get eyes on the issue, really, just advice as to anything that I might have missed. There was one question about I think Indigo Zella had a query about how we should include SVGs and the image get info function. I'm just adding the extension. I can't think of any other way, because that function decides which image types the fields are allowed to upload. All the other extensions depend on the toolkit available, but we don't have any toolkits for SVG, so I'm just adding it to the array. And she had a query as to whether we should be doing any other kind of checking. That was the only question, really. But as far as the issue is concerned, it seems to be progressing. I worked on a few tests. I think I'll probably add a few more just to get eyes and on the issue and further comments, if anything else.
That is a good fundamental thing to decide whether they're going to be, when it comes to functions, to manipulating them, or like, is it going to be part of all the image, whatever functions, or file? Because how are we going to treat it from the code aspect of things, like which functions are going to apply to it. So it's a good yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
It's I did say at the last meeting, I find we seem to have a little bit of a I don't know if you call it confusion, but to me, when I was trying to get this issue done, there seems to be two separate schemes going on: file fields versus image fields. Because file has its own set of extensions that it allows, and the image has a different set of extensions, and the toolkit has a different set of extensions. It was a bit confusing. So I gotta go. Somebody's calling.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, from an end user perspective, like when we look at the file types, we have audio, video, file, like document or whatever, we have an image. And it's like, is it going to be treated as an image? It sounds like it, because people that are uploading those there, they intend to use them as images. But what we do in the code side of things is, yeah, how we, I don't know, it's probably going to be a hybrid. Imagine, but yeah, I need to have a look at the code.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point. Because you're right that we just kind of predetermine. Actually, it's funny. We predetermine it in the out-of-box file types, but I do believe that you can set up additional file types if you wanted to separate it, or you could even change it from being one into the other, as far as the file browser is concerned, and as far as its file type is concerned too.
Yeah, because you might have site admins which need to make a decision maybe based on security or have what have you, if it's going to be treated as an image or as a file or as a totally separate thing that has separate rules or whatever.
Yeah, this pull request for sure takes the approach of this thing as an image.
Yeah.
It adds it to an image field. You know, you can add SVG as a thing. Having an image field has the advantage that shows you the thumbnail, you know. Yeah, so it definitely comes down on the SVGs are images side of thing, which I think not everybody, but users would feel like that is the natural thing for it to do. So yeah, this pull request looks great. I do have, there's a lot of concerns with it, but I do feel much more confident that this is, in many ways, porting long-standing contrib modules from Drupal. Like these solutions have existed for years. So we're not doing anything dramatically new here. We're largely like adapting contrib solutions to be in core, which is great. Okay, let's see. And then icon system. Yeah, like I said, this is a lot of issues that are all they're all coming right up to the deadline here.
Yeah.
Issue 364, add an icon library to core. This one also has been making a lot of strides. This one's my pull request that I'm taking the lead on here. The great news is that so far everybody that has tested the sandbox or reviewed the code or just read over the approach, everybody seems to think that it's great. Like we have a lot of consensus around the approach, around the icons we're going to use. The capabilities of the system are really positive. The implementation, the feedback has been really positive. And so, yeah, we're working through to just get this one to completion. There were new tests added this week that test the ability for modules to provide icons. There's still a little bit of work yet to be done to test the ability for themes to provide icons. And then tests were also updated for admin bar to work with the new markup that people had requested there. So we're in a good shape with this one. All tests that exist right now are passing for it, and there's consensus about the way that's implemented. I did put out the question that we discussed in depth last week about whether or not we should include filled icons as well as the normal icons, which are kind of outlines. And also, so far of the people that have participated in the discussion, everybody also thinks that including both filled and outline or normal modules or normal icons is the best solution. So yeah, everything seems great. There has been some discussion about where we namespace things, kind of similar to the last topic about whether or not stuff lives in file or whether it lives in image or whether it lives in common .inc. But generally people are saying that these new functions should live in the image inc and be image related functionalities. So that's where things are right now already. And so we'll just leave them there. We've done a little bit of consolidation between this issue and the previous issue, that right now they're taking the approach that they're both adding the same functions in the same places. And whichever one gets in first, the other one will just adapt to it. But the implementations are the same between them. So that was another little enhancement since last week, is that we just, I went and copied a bunch of the code that Doc Wilmot had done on the general SVG support and put it into this one for icon support. So let's see, what do we need here? More code review code review and testing would always be appreciated. But this one, the holdup is on me. I think that the next steps are add the filled icons, which we haven't done yet. In one reservation I have about that is that's now adding 3,000 files instead of 1,500 files. And a lot of people have already said that reviewing the pull request crashes their browser. But it seems like some people have figured that one out, that you can just skip the commit that adds the icons and only look at the commit that does the code. And then that generally lets you review it in a way that won't crash the browser. And then we need the test coverage for themes. So not too big of a task between those two little things. And yeah, this one looks really good. I'm really excited about these.
Are you going to have availability to work on things in general, that and other things over the weekend? Or how's your schedule? Are you going to have any time to sprint?
Yes, I've got lots of time actually. I'm taking this the following Monday off, so the 29th.
Cool.
And then yeah, through this weekend I will be very active, trying to push all of these issues forward. So yes, we've got some availability. I'm trying to make it happen, before the last day. So and yeah, I have been pushing forward a lot of these already, so I'm hoping to keep up that momentum.
The last weekend, what we have been doing with team is we open a Jitsi room and we leave it open, and people come and go as they like. So there's some collaboration. It was Tim and myself and Andy mostly, but it helps. So if we coordinate and people want to drop by and request things specific, like help with what they're working on, it works well. It's a little bit more what you call it, timely responses.
Yeah, I actually saw that you guys were meeting. I like after it had happened. But yeah, that's great. I'll try to join in this weekend.
I was out in the mountains last weekend, so I couldn't be there.
That sounds great. All right, let's see. We have one more issue that's in the one. Why is this in the? Oh, this isn't a 128 milestone. This is left over from last week, and we didn't get to it. This is totally minor UX thing. 6436. Tim has requested that we change the visibility condition inside of layouts from node:type to node:content type. So that's
That
great,
doesn't
obvious.
sound like a feature. It doesn't sound like a feature. And I was about to bring, it's a task, so it can be done at any time.
Yep, it's a UX thing too. So yeah, it's not stuck on 128. It can happen after feature freeze, and it can even happen in 128.1. So yeah,
that's just the label.
Mm-hmm. Just the label
Okay.
looks like.
Okay.
It's a UX task. I wanted to bring a few other issues that are, I don't know, they might be marked as feature requests, but they're not actually, or they could be because they might need a change record. And it would be nice to discuss in the next minutes, unless anyone else has to bring anything else up.
No, that's the whole list that's in the 128 milestone.
Right.
So go ahead.
So I'll start with issue 1535. It's a kind of old issue. I started it many years ago, but Larian has provided a pull request now because it is an accessibility issue. It is currently marked as both a bug and a feature request. And I kind of see it as the reason why it's a feature request, I think it's because it's making changes that might need a change record. So I'm not sure if it qualifies, but we should make a decision. If it's a task and it can be done at any point. But yeah, I've done a quick code review. There's a lot of JavaScript, and I would be more comfortable if someone that's more knowledgeable just looks over that.
Yeah, I guess the question on this one is this a you say it's a feature and a task, but the question is there an option to turn it on and off? I guess that's the
I
question I have here.
No, because when it's on, I think it's an accessibility from an accessibility thing. It is a bug because it gets flagged, right? But it does change markup. So
And add CSS, yeah.
So I'm not sure. Do we keep it as a task with a change record or a bug with a change record, or is it because I don't see it as a feature request.
Interesting. Yeah, that blurs the lines around, you know, whether or not it's urgent or a bug or yeah, interesting.
Because if it is, because it's kind of there, and 6 days seem like enough time if Larian has time on his hands, and we do reviews to get it in before. But if getting it into a minor release is not an issue, then we can leave it for later.
Which issue are we talking about here? Sorry.
This is 1535, which is borderline, as I was saying. I think it's a task, and we need to make a policy when we fix accessibility issues that change things.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
1535.
Okay.
1535.
What's it about?
Append the title is append the current tab in the breadcrumb even as an invisible element, because it comes up as it gets flagged by accessibility checking tools.
Oh, is this I didn't realize. Wait, it says current page. When it says current tab, is this related to like local tasks, like the edit link on a node or manage fields on a content type?
Yeah. And see how we have the default. We have the default, which is the view, and then we have the /edit. That's an example, though.
Okay, well that actually sounds. I was thinking that this was add the current page title to the end of a breadcrumb, not add a tab. So is adding the current page title to a breadcrumb, is that still an optional kind of concept?
I haven't tested it. I haven't actually tested it. All I've done is a code review and just the PHP bits. That's what I've done. So it's on my list to review and test. The last comment is that I've done a very superficial first pass code review. It's just because there's JavaScript there. Someone that's more experienced with JavaScript should have a look. The code looks good to me, but
I don't see any JavaScript in the pull request though.
Wasn't there? That might be another issue that I was talking about.
Yeah. There's two things about this if it were only talking about tabs. One is that it's a lot less likely to impact front-end themes because tabs are almost an exclusively administrative thing, at least out of the box and the way Backdrop normally functions. The user login page probably being the exception to that it uses tabs. Although I think we have an issue to make it not use tabs because because of its strangeness. But so that lowers its impact. However, the adding the current page title to a breadcrumb is also a very common change. And so I really wonder how this will impact the existing code that's out there to add the current page title to the breadcrumb. I think that that would probably result in a breadcrumb path that didn't make a whole lot of sense, because if you tack onto the end of it, but the subtask is, yeah, I could just see it being a little confusing potentially.
Yeah, sorry, and I was confused. That was not the issue that had the JavaScript. That I was, yeah, you're right. There's no JavaScript on this one. Apologies.
Yeah, but this is
Um,
interesting. I'll tack it onto the agenda as an issue. It's 1535.
Yeah, and then there's this other one, which is a crossport or backport as well, or a combination of things from Drupal land. And it's issue 6420, 6420. And it's marked as a feature request. And the reason that it's marked as a, like, I reviewed it. All the things that are being backported or crossported have been marked as tasks in Drupal. It's just that it's going to need a change record, I think, similar to Drupal. I just see it as a task. So I'm not sure why it's tagged as a feature and for 128, but I understand, right? Sort of, kind of.
Sorry, was this 6420? Is that?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, sorry, I have a lot of tabs open.
Yeah. So Herb has provided a, actually, let me assign that to him. Has provided a pull request for that. I did do a, again, no, actually, I didn't review this. It's on my list. So this actually needs to go through it and compare that the code is the code porting has been accurate, like we didn't miss any Drupal underscore things slipping in, things like that. And then we need some steps to reproduce and test this.
Yeah, yeah, this is a great little issue here, and I don't think that, it doesn't.
Is it a feature?
Yeah, is it a feature? Yeah, like is it something that's blocked in 128? I guess that's the question. Considering it's a security hardening, I would say this isn't blocked on stuff. It's not, it's also like, I mean,
It feels
it's
like a
backwards
task.
compatible in that like no APIs are changing. Like password reset links that had been sent won't work, but I mean, like that's like a window of like an hour. And I don't think that that's a serious concern. So
Would you
I think
be happy if we marked it as a task rather than a feature request and added the needs change record? Because it will need a change record. There was a respective change record that went in with Drupal that basically said that if you see that links that you've set out to reset passwords is not working, just initiate new ones and you'll be done.
Yeah, okay. I'll post a little comment here. Why? I don't see a good reason why this would need to be in a minor release.
Yep.
I was muted. I was trying to talk.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
This change won't affect like B or Drush, like the API staying the same, so those can still generate the password reset links exactly the same way.
Yeah, because the function remains the same. I haven't verified this yet, but the function for returning a link stays the same, and the way that work stays the same. It's just that it's a longer link
Okay.
now.
Okay.
So I really don't think that that this would impact in anything.
All right.
Yeah, I think, yeah, this is a great little set of changes. Okay, you just moved this into 127.2. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, I've changed it from a feature request to a task.
Oh, I see. I was the one that added it to 128, but I probably did that just trying to surface it a little bit better.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Then I have one that I started myself, and I would like to know if it's a feature that I should work, because it's a very easy one that I should work on over the weekend, and that's 6476. So 6476. that feels like a feature request.
Yeah,
So
provide a way to specify which region should be the default in flexible layout templates.
yeah, so the thing is, so I was working on 6461, which basically is a bug, and certain layouts, Geary and Rolf, which are provided by Core, initially it was reported for Geary. They would not automatically get the main page, main content block when you create a layout using those templates. And then someone else said, oh, Rolf has the same problem. And then I realized that the .info file of layout templates, we specify a default region. And for those two specific layouts, it's not called content, it's something else.
Mhm.
So we didn't have any code to basically fall back to that and say, if you didn't find a matching region called content where the main content. So what happens is when you create a new layout and you select a template, what we do is we copy the blocks from the respective regions in the default layout. And the default layout has it in a region that says content. So if it doesn't find a matching region in the new template, it doesn't copy it. But that's what we have, that specific thing in the .info to say, if you don't find anything, that's the default. And even in the comments, the doc blocks that we have, we specifically say that this is what this is intended for, to place the main content block. So, all right, I was working on that, and then I realized that flexible templates have this, and actually even worse, they don't get any blocks at all. And while working at that, I saw that the difference is that we don't have any way to specify what the default region is in flexible layouts. So yeah, I think that this would be a relatively easy one. I might be able to get it done over the weekend, but is it a feature or a task?
You mean like, would it be held on the 128 release?
Yeah. No, what I mean is, like, could it be added in any 128X, or would we have to wait 3 months until the next one if I don't make it now? So should I start working on it now, or should I focus on other things? That's what I'm trying to get.
I'd probably encourage you to work on other things just because this issue was literally just surfaced today. Yeah, as far as like how important this issue is, it's kind of an unknown. It does also mostly affect like switching between one layout to another layout. Isn't that the main
No,
use case you're
even
talking about?
when you create a new layout and you select a flexible template instead of a normal template, it gets no blocks.
Oh, it doesn't get
The header, the footer, nothing.
oh,
Which I am addressing in the other thing, which is a bug. But now it acquires everything except of the main, unless you specifically leave one of the regions that you create called as content.
mhm.
It won't get the main content thing because it doesn't have any fallback region, no way
Yes.
to specify it. So basically what I'm trying to do is bring the flexible layout configuration in par with .info files so that they
Mhm.
contain a way to specify this is a default. So put the main content block there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm curious to see what that will look like. Yeah, I would say, time your priorities, that maybe focus on the things that are already in flight, as opposed to trying to start something new at this point.
Yeah, and then I see the team has also another thing marked as a feature request, which is 6460. But that doesn't have a pull request either. Okay. All right. And this one was, sorry, disregard that one because it doesn't have a pull request, but this one does 5083, which is the reduce update status modules nagging messages on admin pages.
Oh
And that's,
yeah, I would love this one.
yeah, I know. And it's marked as a feature request though. It does sound like a task to me. And it's a
Yeah.
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 We can do that
Yeah.
later. But I mean, okay, I'll reclassify that.
Yeah, I would love this one to move forward though. So this is update status module. When there's a security update available, it puts a big red error at the top of every page of /admin, every administrative page on the site. And I always found that to be overly obnoxious. Like, interfering with the behavior of the admin pages. Also very confusing because you're like saving nodes or whatever, and there's just an error everywhere. And ever since we added the red dot to the admin bar, that's like, hey, there's something urgent that needs to be addressed in the status report. I've always felt that this legacy way of notifying administrators was unnecessary. But now it's become a little bit of a bigger issue because it also shows up in modal dialogues, which can be annoying. I'm not sure. There used to be a screenshot in here, but I'm not seeing it now. But yeah, it's very, it's very clunky.
Yeah, what I was asking is what makes it a feature? It sounds like a task to me. Again, should we, because these are, I know that we have the big things going on, but there's some, and Tim would appreciate that, some low hanging fruits that we can get as, as a series of features to go with our marketing efforts, or, this is what new has happened, right? So for those people that are not working actively on the bigger issues, they might, be able to knock out some of those smaller ones. Does that qualify as a feature though, or can it be done later?
Well, it's marked here. It's weird. It's marked as a feature request, but it's also marked as a bug milestone.
Yeah.
I would say at the very least that it could go in 1.18 and not be restricted by feature freeze. But I'm not sure if you'd want to put it in 1.18.1. I don't know. It's also something I don't think would be very good marketing material because it's like, oh, we reduced security notifications, right? Like that's not a very marketable feature.
It does sound like a UX thing. It's like we stop annoying people every little thing. So that's the thing that we're trying to fix. So it doesn't seem like a feature to me. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna just tag this as UX because I do think that it has a lot to do with UX. And that
We also
fits in our exception box for bug fix releases.
I think
Go ahead, Joseph.
I don't think it would really be like a reducing security thing because we already have the red icon in the toolbar that tells them about that anyway.
And you would still leave it in things like the dashboard, for example, right? Or things like that, the status, whatever page, or the important pages. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. It does also have a slight optimization, performance optimization, that it's not checking on literally every admin page all the time. So that's also a small thing. But yeah, I would be in favor of that. We're out of time for today, though. I've got another meeting I got to get to. So, Craig, he looks like you got more. Well, I'll try to make it to the Jitsi room for code sprints this weekend, and then you can keep rattling off more pet issues for me.
No, the thing that I want is to unblock Andy, basically, mostly just come to a consensus on the things that are blocking that thing, because it's a big feature that we should get in. We should try to get in. Yeah.
The SVG image support?
No, the create layout from content types or entity.
Oh, okay.
That bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here today. Really appreciate it. Andy hopping in and out in between patient visits is pretty extraordinary. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you on the issue queue. We'll be coordinating on Zulip over the weekend. There's lots of threads about the 128 release and other topics there, and that's where activity is happening. So we'll use Zulip to coordinate, and yeah, by this time next week we'll be past feature freeze. So Wednesday is May 1st, and so yeah, we'll regroup next week and talk about what it was that we managed to get done. So thanks everybody. See you on online and next week.
Okay. See you guys.